I, 23F, won a free car. My boyfriend, 25M, and his family seem to think I'll give it to him for free. Original post. So I, 23F, won a brand new compact car in a raffle I entered a few weeks ago at a trade show I was at for work. Which is awesome, but I already have an older car that I really like, and I just finished paying it off, so I can finally pay the cheaper liability-only insurance. My car still has a lot of life on it, it only has about 100k miles, and if I were to choose a brand new car it would not be the one that I won. I did some research, and after taxes and shipping I can make about 14-15k from selling the car. That money would be an incredible just start after graduating college, it would more than triple my savings. My boyfriend, 25M, of a little over a year has been without a car for a few months. He's been struggling a bit financially so he hasn't gotten a new one yet, but he can walk to the grocery store, he gets a ride to work, and I drive anywhere else. It's worked out fine and I really don't mind, he helps out with gas and driving. For background, he lives with friends, I live with my dad for free, so I'm able to save up money. I definitely see a future with him, but we aren't at the point where we've talked about moving in together yet, but we are very serious. I went to a gathering at his parents' house last night, his whole family has been wonderful and welcoming to me, and everyone congratulated me on winning the car. But everyone, including my boyfriend, seemed to think the logical and obvious step was to either give it to my boyfriend, or give him my car and keep the new one. I don't plan to do either of these things. It would be different if we were married or living together and our money was mixed together, but it's not, we aren't at that point in the relationship yet. I don't want to give him what would essentially be $15,000 in cash. It doesn't make any sense. If I'd won the money instead, there wouldn't be any talk of just giving it all to him. That car and the resulting money should be mine, it's not my responsibility to provide him with a free car, whether it be my $5,000 car that I really like, or this brand new one. For the dinner at his family's house I just stayed quiet because I was so shocked at their assumption and didn't want to rip it away from him in front of his entire extended family. How do I break this to him and his family that this car and the money from it is not in any way his? Update. So the day after the family gathering where everyone assumed I'd just let my boyfriend use the car for free, I had to drive into the city where I won the car to sign a bunch of paperwork and pay some fees. We both had the day off, so I texted my boyfriend and asked if he'd like to come along so we could walk around the city and go out to eat afterwards. He agreed and I picked him up. We hadn't talked about the night before at all. He asked general questions about what it was I had to do today, and I explained that, and then I explained how the taxes on the car were going to be several $1,000s, but luckily I could cover them with my savings until I got the money for selling the car, and hopefully it would come out to around 14-15k, based on my brother's calculations. He was quiet for a minute and asked, "You don't want to keep it?" And I said no, but I was happy with the older bigger car I currently have, it better suits our needs and I can pay cheaper insurance on it because it's paid off. He said that he didn't realize the taxes would be so much. It was awkward in the car for a moment and I finally just asked, "Did your family think I'd give you the car to use?" He said his mom told everyone right before I got there that we, meaning BF and I, won the car and that he'd finally have something to drive. He said that he didn't think I'd do that, but he assumed I'd want to keep the new car simply because it was new, and that maybe I'd let him use my old car if he took over the insurance payments. But then he very quickly said that he did not realize the taxes would be more than a few $100s. I guess his train of thought makes sense given what he assumed about the cost. He agreed that it made the most sense to sell the new car. I asked if he was going to explain that to his mother, and he said that he would, and that she views the two of us like a married couple already, because she wants that so badly for him and has been heavily pressuring him to propose to me. That I did not know. Neither of us are at a point where we're even remotely ready for that, we're happy with where we are right now. He promised he'd talk to his mom and explain everything to his family and that he wouldn't let any of them think less of me. I was worried about that. So he waited patiently while I dealt with the company running the raffle. It ended up taking over 3 hours, and then we had a nice time strolling around the city and I treated us to a very nice dinner. Next story. Should I remove my wig to accommodate a coworker's sensory perception issues? I'm a middle-aged woman with hair loss. It's not alopecia. It is caused by my hypothyroidism, but I have been told it's technically not considered medical hair loss. This is important. I wear wigs, like all the time. I rarely leave the house without one on and I frequently wear them in my home, too. Jay is a coworker who has autism, anxiety, and multiple sensory perception issues. The company is committed to accommodating these, and I completely agree with that. For a little context, my son and daughter are both neurodivergent and have their own differences, which I hope their workplaces will always accommodate. Jay recently learned that I wear wigs. This bothers him to the point of distraction and anxiety where he cannot focus on anything when I am present. He stares at my head and seems unable to stop. He asked me if I could take it off for him, just so he could see my head, and that maybe after that he'd be able to get back to normal. But he admitted he doesn't know if that would work, and that he might still be unable to function normally with me around, wearing my wig. I told him I'd think about it. But everything inside me says no. This was last week, and I haven't seen him since then, but he escalated the matter. I've been told that since I'm essentially wearing my wig for cosmetic reasons rather than a medical reason, I have to remove it to be in compliance with Jay's accommodations. I then said I would agree to remove it for him privately, once, but I do not want to agree to never wear a wig around him. That would be distressing for me. This matter was reviewed for a day before I received a response this morning. Essentially, I have now been told that this is only my vanity and I need to get on board with accommodating Jay's very real issues, even if that means going wigless at work. I don't know what to do. Should I contact Jay about it personally? Or continue to only communicate through my supervisor and HR? What are my options? Edited to add, I've been asked how Jay learned I wear wigs. I'm actually very open about it. Jay was present and within clear hearing distance when a colleague and I had a conversation about it. Edited to add too, I'm going to share a couple things about me, so this might make more sense. First, I'm known for being very strong, tough. I'm the only woman in my department and in our immediate adjacent departments. My coworkers would likely never think that my hair loss is truly upsetting for me. I'm sure they think that I've taken it in stride and wear wigs for the fun of it. Second, everyone knows my son is autistic and I care very deeply about the challenges autistic people face. A few years ago, I helped a former coworker, who also has autism, fight for accommodations regarding the mask issue. So being that I'm perceived as tough, but also quite sympathetic towards the needs of autistic people, I'm sure they all thought that I would immediately agree to whatever would make Jay comfortable. Update: a few hours later on a similar post on a different subreddit. I'm currently having an issue at work which I posted about earlier today, here. Earlier in the week, I had a brief conversation about it with Emily from HR, who informed me that my coworker had gone to them about his problem with me and she asked me a few questions. Completely standard procedure here. This morning, I had a conversation with Tim from HR, who is the person actually handling it. Just now, I received a message from Emily. She said she wants to call me to talk about it off the record. This may seem self-explanatory, but I'm trying to understand the motivation. Is it off the record for her protection? Or for mine? Should I even take her call? Update: first, thank you all very much for your advice. I truly appreciate it. Second, Emily is in HR temporarily, while someone else, Alicia, is on maternity leave. Third, I decided to take Emily's call, but only listen. Emily said she was calling to tell me that when I reply to Tim's email, I can CC Alicia. She said that Alicia is checking her email regularly. I thanked her and we ended the call. The important point here is that Alicia is a black woman who herself wears wigs, and wigs are at the heart of this issue. So she may have a different take on all this. Final update. Additional HR people got involved and I've been told I will not have to remove my wig ever. Basically, after this issue was brought to the attention of someone else from HR, Alicia, who also wears wigs, but is on maternity leave right now, a lot happened very quickly. I had a video chat with Alicia, Tim, the HR person who initially told me I would have to remove my wig, one of their higher-ups in HR, as well as someone from legal. So once the right people were alerted to what was happening, it was taken very seriously. I was assured in the video chat, as well as via text and phone call with Alicia, in addition to multiple emails and documents, that I will not be asked or required to remove my wig. Jay and I are not to have any further communication regarding this. We've both been instructed that if either of us attempts to discuss it with the other, we are to report it. So it's over. I appreciate all the comments, advice, and support I received here. Thank you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for screaming at my wife that I didn't make our 4 years old a sociopath? I, 34 male, come from a family with a history of mental illness and unethical behavior patterns on both sides. My wife, 39 female, is obsessing over that fact because our 4-year-old is showing extreme antisocial behaviors. She didn't know much about my family until 2 weeks ago. She also did not know about my previous criminal charges. I shared it all with her now in hopes of brainstorming a solution to help our son. Our kid was kicked out of kindergarten for biting other kids. Strangely enough, he plays well with the neighbors' children and his company is sought after. At preschool, he does not want to share. He can hold a grudge and sulk for 3 days straight with no break. Incidents as small as running out of his favorite flavor of ice cream can set that off. He likes kicking anthills and crushing insects. I can best describe it as a strange and intentional fascination with putting others in discomfort or disturbing the balance of things. My wife has sobbed multiple times for hours in my arms about this situation. We don't know why he's doing any of this. We're trying to reach him in warm conversations, but he's playing his own game where we are fools. We were talking in bed one evening when our childhood behaviors came up. We wanted to know if we could ask our parents how they dealt with us. Up to that point, she thought we were both extremely well adjusted, so what worked for us must be good. I decided to tell her about my past. The reason I hadn't done so earlier was because I was putting it all behind me. But I'm also very concerned for our son, and the filter came off without me realizing. As a child and up to my 20s, I also exhibited sociopathic traits. I remember searching other kids' backpacks and stealing money when I was 9. I'm not sure where I got the idea. At 25, my employer wanted to press charges against me for fraud. I'd lied about going to an Ivy League level university when I didn't attend any, then proceeded to mismanage major projects while admittedly creating toxicity. There are many other incidents in between. For a few years, I lived under a completely assumed identity and false backstory for a reason I can't quite say except the thrill of it. Lying has always come naturally to me as an amoral tool for navigating situations. My wife made a good point that my surroundings could have caused that behavior. But our son has had a very sheltered life. My Uncle Jeff is a sociopath. He's never treated people with respect and was jailed for fraud. My Aunt Kate is a psychopath whose 2 eldest children no longer speak to her. They report horrific abuse while growing up. That's my mom's side. My mother has APD. She has an extreme lack of empathy and a tendency to cause conflict. She would often talk behind her friends' backs to me when I was growing up. She always seeks control and lacks self-awareness. My mother has not sought a diagnosis because she is a religious fanatic who does not believe in mental illness. My dad seems rather normal. I'd say he's the most well-adjusted of every member of my family, immediate and extended. On my dad's side, 2 cousins suffer from psychosis and schizophrenia. Our culture is one where infidelity is frowned upon and tends to cause divorce, but 3 of my dad's 4 brothers have children out of wedlock. Maybe it's not hereditary and it's generational trauma. But I've worked hard to reverse my negative traits. For the past 2 weeks, she's come closer and closer to saying I betrayed her and our son is doomed. She joked about it at first, but that was her own way of lightening it in her mind. I could tell it was sitting heavily on her. We can't talk about anything without it leading back to my past or family history. She's able to tie the most unrelated details to it when we're watching a movie or taking a walk. We were doing the weekly shop when she tried to joke about me having a shoplifting gene. As it happens, yes, I did have a shoplifting habit for a while as a schoolboy. That's something I'd kind of buried in my mind. I had that nostalgic ecstasy when you remember a period after forgetting it entirely for years. I thought we were carrying on with the chit-chat, so I started recounting the details as they came to me. She turned serious all of a sudden and said this is a serious issue and it's like she doesn't know who I am. She started saying our son is in serious trouble and needs help, and if she'd known she could have sought help for him when he was extremely young, but she didn't because I never told her and that was unfair to her and an evil thing to do. I lost my temper and screamed that she must not be smart to have married a sociopath and not realized all this while. Clearly I've changed. And the whole thing seemed worth a look in the beginning, but now it seems like voodoo thinking to me. She hasn't spoken to me for hours. When I approach her, she faces another direction or tells me to get away. Am I the a-hole here? I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.